I'm Hannah.
And I'm Jason.
And this is Horror Hour with Hannah and Jason,
where we talk about all your favorite new release horror movies.
So today, obviously, Matt is not here. This is our second Mattless episode in the span of like a month. Oh, that guy. But we are talking about The Plague, which is a film written and directed by Charlie Polinger in his directorial debut. So the reason why I have Jason on here with me is because this film played at the Philadelphia Film Festival, and Jason was the one who came and saw it with me. And so Matt hasn't seen it yet, which is really unfortunate for him because this movie rocks. So we are going to talk about it. We're going to break it down into screams that slayed and bloody messes. Although, what I will say is I kind of doubt we'll have many criticisms of the film, so you probably won't hear that many bloody messes on this one. So, Jason, do you want to get us started with some screams that slayed about The Plague?
Yeah, I thought it was a phenomenal movie. I think it's beautifully shot, and especially for like people like me who were about the same age as the characters at about the same time period. Like, there's especially like adolescent boy before the widespread use of the internet, especially in like a summer camp environment. It just perfectly captures the social dynamic that existed between people in that kind of setting. So it just brought back a lot of pleasant memories and some unpleasant memories too about, bullying in middle school and things. But it just hit hard for me with just kind of a nostalgia aspect. And also it's very well written. It's beautifully shot. And it was just a thoroughly enjoyable experience. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time.
Yeah, I obviously was never a 12 or 13-year-old boy, but I do feel like it really perfectly captures what it's like to not fit in or be trying really hard to fit in and make friends, and like what that experience is like as an outsider. The main character is a new kid in town. He's recently moved to town, and it's basically about him going to a water polo camp where they're spreading rumors that another child has the plague, and that they have to make sure that they don't get near this kid so they don't get the plague. And as someone who moved, I think I was 9, so I was a little younger, but like that is a really difficult experience at that age. I'm sure it's difficult at any age, frankly, but having like the social anxiety of like, do I fit in? What do I do to fit in? Who do I be friends with? It was very real and captured in this film. And I feel like the dialogue is so accurate to how middle schoolers talk, but especially like boys. Yeah. Completely agree on that point. You also mentioned that the film is shot really well, and I completely agree. I think it's a really pretty looking movie. Because it's set at a water polo camp, there are a lot of scenes of children in the water, and I swear they make that look unique and fresh and interesting every single time the kids are shown in the water. I feel like it's shot in some new and creative way that maybe I didn't predict in every scene. Like, I feel like this movie is shot in a way that it doesn't get bored, doesn't feel repetitive. Do you have another scream that slayed that you want to bring up?
I just think the entire thing is fantastic because like 90% of the movie is just the interactions between the child characters. There are adult characters in the film, but they're on the sides. They only come in sporadically. And so it is a majority of the time just from the perspective of the children and their interactions, and only incidental scenes to pull you out of that, to remind you, it's like, this is only, like, especially, and it's especially true for boys in summer camp, but anyone that's been this age knows that everything that happens to you feels like the biggest thing in the world. And you just have just incidental scenes that pull you out of that and thinks like, wait, these are just kids in summer camp. There's a whole world outside of this that's not even being addressed because it doesn't have to be. That's not the purpose of the film.
And speaking of the fact that, like, most of the scenes are just children, this movie is so well acted. All of these kids are so good. I feel like one of my favorite quote-unquote villain performances of 2025 was in this movie with that little shithead.
Yeah.
They're so great, and I feel like it is tough to have a film of entirely children that are this good. I mean, and I'm thinking, like, Stranger Things. Some of those kids weren't that good, and they just kind of got by on being cute, and now it's, like, glaring that they're not that great. And meanwhile, like, these kids fucking rock.
Oh, yeah.
And they're old enough that, like, you could gauge whether it's just cuteness. And none of these kids are cute. So, like, that's part of it that helps. When it comes to the horror elements of this movie, so, like, obviously this is being labeled as a body horror. I think there's been some disagreement on the internet about what genre this movie falls into. I was talking to another, like, horror content creator who was like, I'm not including it on my top 10 horror of the year because I don't know if this is horror. What are your thoughts on that?
Let's say, to call it horror, I don't think is inaccurate. Sorry, maybe as more psychological horror than body horror. Because, I mean, the body horror is part of it, but I wouldn't even describe that as the primary source of dread in the movie. I mean, obviously, it's the kid that people are saying has the plague. That's where the movie gets the name from. But that honestly doesn't take up that big of a part of the movie, at least not until towards, let's say, the third of it. But it could be also described, I suppose, as a coming-of-age movie, because you see these children going in with ideas about the world, and then all of those kind of getting broken down, and them having to, kind of, especially the main character, have to like build himself up after realizing like something that he had been taking for granted is actually very real.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think horror is a fine genre to put this in, but yeah, body horror isn't like the primary horror of the film. It's very much the psychological aspect of these children and, like, the bullying, the feeling like you don't fit in. All of that, I feel like, is where the real discomfort comes in. But I do think it's fair to call it horror. Like, it is pretty horrifying. I think coming of age is also pretty apt, but, like, coming of age, psychological horror, touches of body horror, I feel like that's fair. And if the thing too is, if you don't label it body horror, then there's going to be some people who see this movie thinking it's like an uncomfortable coming of age movie, and then see a little bit of body horror and freak the fuck out. So like, I understand why it's labeled the way it is.
I think body horror would have a bigger draw to people who are into the horror genre. Yeah. Especially, maybe not people who are, like, academically interested in horror movies, but people that just want something to, like, go out on a Saturday afternoon and see something fun. They're more likely to see something marketed as body horror than something marketed as, like, psychological teen coming of age.
Yeah, that's probably true. And I do think if you're going into this, like, oh shit, body horror, like, you probably would be disappointed, to be fair, if that is, like, your intent and, like, what you want to see. But if you are disappointed by this movie and you don't like it, I think you're kind of a dipshit, because I think this movie is just, like, really well made across the board. But on the note of the body horror, what did you think of it? Because I think that it's another Scream that slayed. I think the skin conditions of the kid who, quote unquote, has the plague, it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, it's gross looking to see, and I think for a good part of the movie, it exists just as a premise to get the plot rolling along. Because I was watching it, and I wasn't exactly sure how things were going to play out with that, because the scenes with the child with skin condition never really directly connected with a lot of the other main plot points with the interactions between the other children.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the end, it comes together in like a really genuinely, I don't want to call it horrifying, but it's like a really shocking scene at the very end of the movie that ties everything together. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's motioning me with the,
with what
like, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. That, you're very right on that. Yeah, and it's tough because, like, I don't want to give away what happened because it is, like, a spoiler plot-ish twist. It's definitely unexpected. But, yeah, there's more body horror than just the skin condition, and when that happens, it is also very well done and, like, really uncomfortable.
That's the thing. Like, we talk about, like, bullying, and when you're 12 or 13... you're just at the age where you've learned how to zoom in on someone's insecurities and relentlessly attack them for it. But you're not old enough yet to understand that there can be like actual serious long-term consequences for doing that to somebody. Mm-hmm. And this movie like really shows that. And it's like, the thing is like, I think it's just a fun thing doing, you picking on the outsider there. And it's like, this has bad consequences if it's taken to the extremes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, because you think about, like, all of these cases that have come out of, like, especially in more recent times, there's, like, plenty of documentaries on it and stuff of, like, these young adolescents dying by suicide.
Yeah.
And I guess it's like, you know, kids, their brains, like, at 12, your brain is not developed to think about the consequences of those actions. It's really interesting because, like, I know at 12, I thought about those things. But, so, like, for me, a lot of my life, it's, like, been hard for me to, like, wrap my head around, like, why people can't see that or understand that. Mm. And then, like, becoming an adult, you're like, oh, well, first of all, boys' brains, like, develop a little later than women's. Also, you know, your brain isn't developed until 25-ish. And then also, not everyone has the same social awareness. That is very much like a learned skill. And, like, clearly at 12 and 13, especially these boys, like, they don't have that. Yeah. They think about what's funny in the right now, especially these kids, and aren't all able to think about, like you said, the long-term consequences in this movie very much. It does not end in a child losing their life or anything, thank goodness. I think that was a great call that that's not the direction it goes in, but it does go into a horrifying territory that's not that. That really does show that. Any bloody messes? Anything that doesn't work for you in this movie?
No, because I don't know. It hits really hard for me, like I said, because I was about the same age at about the same time, a little bit later. But I think, in my mind, the dividing line is before widespread access to the internet and after widespread access to the internet. Because I think that changed how people interacted with each other socially, especially adolescents, because all of a sudden they don't have things that they learn from each other. They might learn from an older brother or sister or cousins. They have access to much more information to form their behaviors. And this so perfectly captured that kind of interaction. And I think anyone can look at it objectively and thinks like a lot of it holds true even today. But my only criticism would be that I don't necessarily think it would hit as hard or like with the same degree of immediacy to someone that doesn't have a similar lived experience as the characters in the film, which is barely a criticism because that's true of like every single film ever. Yeah,
I was gonna say, yeah, I think that that's fair. It is interesting to me to think about how like kids who are kids right now in like 10 years, if they watch this movie, how they would take it, because they don't have the exact same lived experience as like our generation and generations before might have had. But yeah, I don't really have any criticisms of the film. I think it is like pretty perfect, frankly. There's like nothing that bothered me that I would have done differently that I can recall. And to be fair, we are recording this 2 months after we saw it at the Philadelphia Film Festival. We did not have great turnaround time on getting this on the mic. So maybe there's something that I'm forgetting, but frankly, I don't think that there is.
I walked out of the theater and was just stunned by how good the movie was. Like, I have no serious criticisms for this whatsoever.
Yeah. And what's funny to me is what made me want to see this is, one, like it premiered at Cannes and I was like, oh shit, that's awesome. And two, it had Joel Edgerton and I love that guy. Like, I don't think I've seen any Joel Edgerton performances that I did not like. There's only one movie that he's in that I don't like really enjoy. And that's because I don't like maximalism very much. So The Great Gatsby doesn't exactly hit for me very well. But it's interesting because like he's like a side character in this. It's not about him. Like, it's about the kids, and he's just like the one adult that's there.
Yeah.
And he produced the film. So it's funny that like that was my motivator to want to see this. And like he's just really not a big piece of it. And I have seen a lot of reviews that are like, Joel Edgerton is great. And I'm like, yeah, you're just saying that because people know that name. Because, like, it really is about these kids who I hope have, like, a good career ahead of them. Specifically, Everett Blunk, that is our main character. And then I believe the shithead kid that we were pissed off at most of the time was Kyle Martin. Was it Jake who was the asshole kid? No, yeah. Eli was the... No,
Eli was the kid of the plague. Yeah.
The plague kid. Yeah, Jake must be the asshole kid. Yeah, Kyle Martin. They were both excellent. Can you guess what this has on Rotten Tomatoes right now, critically? And to be fair, it only has 59 reviews right now.
6.8. 68%.
68%, bruh. Okay, do you know how Rotten Tomato scores work?
No.
Okay, so that explains this. Rotten Tomato scores are basically the percentage of people who gave it a positive review. So, like, if every single person gave it a review of, like, a 6.5 or higher, that's considered a positive review.
Right.
So that would give the score 100%.
Okay.
So, like, if the score were 50%, that would mean half the people gave it a good review, and half the critics that were included gave it a bad review.
Say 92%.
100%.
Yay.
Yay! I'm so pleased to hear that. So, not only do we endorse this movie, if you care about critics, they also endorse this movie. But I think that's all I have to say about this one right now. Without doing an active rewatch, I don't have more to add.
Yeah, I think I've said everything that comes to mind with my opinions about it.
Okay, perfect. So, very exciting to have a movie where we have only screams that slay. No bloody messes whatsoever, guys. So definitely make sure that you see The Plague. It is finally getting it started a limited release in late December, and at this point in time when this is being released, it has started its wider release, but it's probably still not that wide of a release. But if it's near you, go see this movie and definitely prioritize it. If you can't see it in theaters, prioritize it when it comes to streaming, because it's a great one. Well, thanks for joining me, Jason.
Oh, thank you for having me on.
Yay! Very fun. Always a good time with Jason, and I'm sure there will be many more of this upcoming year. So, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Jason.
Stay tuned and stay scared. Thank you for listening to Horror Hour with the Hannahs. Make sure to listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever else you can find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, where we post episodes and shorts. You can follow us at Horror Hour with the Hannahs on TikTok and Instagram, as well as at Horror Hour on Blue Sky for more content. If you like the podcast, please follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. Happy hauntings!